Hello. Apparently Facebook Live has set up the Facebook Live videos in a whole different way. So hopefully this will go on and it will be published. But this is the first time that I've had to work through the settings in the way that I have tonight. So anyhow, this is Janet Hayward, and tonight I have been reading a lot. And oftentimes I'll have several books going at one time. I listen to books on tape, but I also still read the printed word, and also with my Nook. And the concept that keeps coming up, or the one that is consistently in the books that I'm reading now, is this idea of our subconscious mind. So I'm reading a T. Harv Eker book, The Secrets of the Millionaire Mind. I'm also reading, and I can never remember his name, but it's Dean Graziosi, The Millionaire Success Habits. And then I'm working through the booklet that I got with Tony Robbins, Unleash the Power Within, and also working through a power 30-day program that he has. And all of them, surprisingly enough, are addressing this idea of the need to look at your subconscious mind, the need to look at the thought systems that we have been raised with as children, and to pay attention to that, because that can create barriers to your wealth, to your abundance, to you allowing yourself to accept your abundance. And Esther Hicks talks about this concept of, we talk about the law of attraction, and how we think positive thoughts. We think of those things that we do want. We focus our thoughts on the things that we do want. And that goes into the vortex. The vortex is I wish I wrote the definition down, but it's basically the place where all of these things are there for us. And it is when we are fully open to them that we actually do manifest it in our lives. So these books are talking about how our subconscious thoughts, the things that we are raised with that we haven't been paying attention to, that they can cause us to actually sabotage our own abundance. And each of these authors has their own story where they talk about how they have blocked. At one point, they sabotaged their own abundance, their own growth. Tony Robbins actually reached a point where he was very affluent. He was making a bunch of money, and things were going great. And I think he got, sorry, my nose itches, I have allergies. But anyhow, I think it was like on Forbes, or he was being lauded as this successful genius, and then he sabotaged himself and basically lost everything because he hadn't addressed these things that he was raised with. So I just wanted to talk about the importance of looking at some of the sayings that we say to ourselves. And I actually had to send an APB out to my little sister and say, hey, I can't even really remember a lot of the things that were said to us when we were growing up about finances, abundance. Now, I do remember my dad had started his own business, a tool and die. There were 5 of us. So we had 5 kids in the family, the 2 adults. And so the idea of, no, you can't have it, we can't afford it. Also the idea, I wanted to go skiing when I was in school, and it was $5 a week, and I had to go get a job in order to earn $5 a week. So this idea of you have to work for everything that you get. Now, I'm not saying, no, we don't have to work and we can just sit back, but the idea that you can only... that you have to work hard, you have to, have your nose to the grindstone, that can be a little faulty. I mean, because I believe now that we want a life of balance. I just spent the day, I had to do some physical therapy work, but I also spent the day at two parties. So I had a party with the people I work with, and I also had a party with a friend of mine, and my husband went with me. And actually, I've been working so hard. It is the first day in a long time that we have spent the day together. Now, that is important in the fullness of our life. Abundance isn't just about money. It's about having a full life. It's about keeping healthy. And so, while I do agree that we do need to work, the idea that you need to work in order to have abundance, as I'm understanding the law of attraction, this is not true. That abundance comes from releasing. It is not to say that we do not have to work or we do not have to put the effort in. But the flip side is true, that if we are working so hard that we are ignoring our loved ones and we are sacrificing our health and we are doing these things, that also is not good, in my opinion. So anyhow, this is just bringing to light for me the need to look at the attitudes that I was raised with. The subconscious things that can actually create barriers. I wrote a little post today, a quote out of the Millionaire Success Habits, and he calls it the inner villain. That inner villain that will actually, you can be on a roll and be doing all this stuff and success is on the path and everything is working out, and you'll sabotage yourself because of these faulty thought patterns, because of these things. So, what I am doing, what this has motivated me to do is to start looking at these thought patterns, to pay attention, to see the things that can possibly be entering in and sabotaging the fullness of my abundance. So I just wanted to bring this up today, just food for thought, something, thank you, something to pay attention to look at, where am I getting in my own way? And I know that I have seen, I heard a couple of seven-figure mentors talking. And one of them was saying, they're talking about abundance and all of this that they have in their life, but then mentioned, well, one of the places that me and this other seven-figure mentor are falling short is in our health because we are working so hard. Is that a good idea? Now, I'm coming from the place of being a physical therapist. I've been a physical therapist for 30 years, so I have paid attention to health, and I have seen how people make that fatal error of not taking care of their health along the way, and we can have a tipping point where our health starts to decline to such an extent that we cannot recover. So we really don't want to be seeking financial abundance to the exclusion of our health, to the exclusion of our family, to the exclusion of these things. We want to be seeking, I guess I shouldn't tell you what you want to do, okay? But I believe that, to have true abundance, it is our health. It is our loved ones and our family. It is our friends, and it is money. And that, to me, is a full life. And that's the abundance that I want. It's not just about being a seven-figure earner. It's about being a seven-figure earner and having these other things, having my health, having family, having these things. And we just want to pay attention, or I'm going to pay attention to see, do I have faulty thought patterns? Do I have thoughts that I carry around with me because I was raised with it? I mentioned one the other day that all of a sudden I was walking and my thought came through, filthy rich. that is one of those faulty thought patterns, this idea of rich and filthy. I mean, nobody wants to be filthy, whether it is with grime or whether it is in your mind. So the idea of having this phrase in my world of filthy rich is harmful. So shifting that, just becoming aware of the things that we're thinking about and shifting them. And they all give different techniques. Everything's always very similar. You know, Tony Robbins has this whole process of looking at the faulty thoughts or faulty behaviors, and then you start naming how they don't serve you well and the pain that's connected to them, because we will avoid pain more than we will seek out pleasure. So you list all the pains, you know, like 10 things that are painful about it. So you start connecting that thought or that behavior with pain, and then you write how not thinking that thought or not doing that behavior can be a pleasure. So that's his pathway for disconnecting. I haven't gotten far enough in the other two to see what their pathway is, okay? But it's all going to be a variation on a theme. So I'm looking forward to finishing these books and enjoying them. But anyhow, I just wanted to bring that up because it's food for thought for me, and I thought it might be food for thought for you. So I hope this was helpful. If it was, please give me some thumbs up, some hearts, some happy faces. I appreciate your time tonight, and y'all have a wonderful evening, okay? Thanks. Bye-bye.